We're back at This Week in Missouri Politics Overtime. You see, we've took our ties off. We're going to let our hair down and predictions. Sarah, it has been one of the most interesting presidential races, most interesting statewide governor's races of all time. No matter if you talk to somebody that goes back to Kenny Rothman or somebody like myself that goes back to Speaker Gaw, it's been very interesting. Let's start with the lieutenant governor's race right out of the box. Who wins that race and by how much?
I think Carnahan wins that by 2 points.
2 points? What do you think?
I agree. I think it will be relatively tight, not recount territory, but yeah, I'd say Russ by 2.
What do you think?
I think that is the closest race of the night, and I think that's Parsons by half a point.
Really? See, we're going to write this down, and if you're right, we'll probably lose the tape. But if you're wrong, we'll bring this back.
Yeah.
My good friend Mike Parson by 1 point. It's going to be very close.
Interesting. Well, let's talk about the treasurer's race. I think Schmidt's ran a great campaign. He's had the resource advantage. It looks like Eric Schmidt is in pretty good position heading into the election day.
Schmidt by 8.
8.
Double
Okay.
digits, 10 points for Schmidt.
Double digits.
4 for Schmidt.
4.
Yeah, I'd say 4 or 6.
That's interesting. I would thought a little bit more if the margin at the top is bigger.
Yeah, no, I don't know. I mean, I normally say that, but I just feel like there's going to be, if there's ever going to be splitting this year,
outperform too.
yeah, I think it's going to be this year.
Let's talk about the unity thing here. Jay Ashcroft leads the ticket, you think?
Oh, you mean his margin?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Agree.
Double digits.
could be.
What do you think?
I think Ashcroft and Schmidt are about the same. Maybe Ashcroft just a little ahead of Schmidt.
Yeah, I think Jay Ashcroft may lead the ticket. What do you think?
Yeah, I'd say Ashcroft by 8 or 9.
Of all these races that have their own interesting parts of it, this race just never happened.
Yeah, there just was never a lot of discussion about it, and I think his name ID, and I think that's also plays for
And a
Russ
nice
Carnahan.
guy, really great guy.
I mean, so I think he's already been reaching out to the local election authorities, bipartisan. I mean, that was a very interesting, because that group, they all know, and they, the people who know about elections and care about elections care about people who want to reach out, and he sort of did that, which I think was an interesting move.
Interesting. Let's talk about the AG's race. David Silverman, this has been, from the primary on through the general, an interesting race. I think Teresa Hensley is a very good candidate. It might just be the wrong year, wrong state.
Well, it's the wrong year, and I can't, and maybe our Democratic friends can explain this. I thought she was a very good candidate who did not get nearly the financial resources she needed to compete. I agree. I think she ends up losing pretty big by 6 to 7 points, and which is kind of surprising because I think she was a good candidate with good issues.
I got to say, Josh Hawley has fundraised like no other, and he's obviously got a knack for politics. The guy's a good politician.
Yeah, I would say, I think that's very true of Josh. I think he wins it by at least 6 or 7.
I think it may be interesting. He may be, at first I thought because of, he's a tougher opponent than Schmidt or Ashcroft. I thought maybe his margin would be smaller. I kind of see them all kind of in the same 7-point area, right?
I do.
What do you think? I mean, I really thought Teresa Hensley was going to make this a tight race. It does seem like she didn't get the financial resources to make it, tighter.
It's an interesting thing because, I mean, when you talk about someone who's basically never practiced law versus someone who's spent their life practicing law and how that's not become an issue that people understand better, I don't know if it's money, but, I mean, it's disheartening to think that we would ever have an attorney general that just really has never had a client. I mean, it's frightening. And but I still think that with the wave, I do
think women might outperform a little bit. So
that could help.
Jason Kander's a great politician, done a very good job. Josh Hawley seems to have taken to Missouri politics with that same, just some people have an ability to do it.
Sure.
And Josh Hawley, I think, has got that same kind of talent, and he's ran a good race. Do you think that means 5 points, 7 points, 10 points?
I think 4 to 6.
4 to 6?
I'm going to say 4 to 6.
Yeah, I may be right about that.
It's an interesting thing which no one talks about, though, because I think it's the year to some extent of the woman candidate. But if I were a woman in the Democratic Party, I would ask myself why Teresa Hensley didn't get more financial resources, because I have to look from this side of the aisle and think maybe they have a history of supporting male candidates better.
Always stirring.
Yeah,
Always stirring. Look at that. Look at that.
Look at that.
U.S. Senate race. Senator Ronder. I think Roy Blunt might have had a problem because of the environment. Maybe the middle of October. It looks like he's stabilized that and trending towards a victory.
This is a tough race, but I think Roy pulls it out by a point or 2.
What do you think?
Couple points. And again, I think Kander's run one of the best races I've ever seen run, but it's a bad year for him, and never bet against the momentum, and the momentum has shifted back to Blunt.
What do you think?
I think within recount territory.
Really?
but Jason wins.
Is that right?
Yeah.
I agree. And also, I just don't think Blunt really has momentum.
Right.
You know, I mean, I did not know that there was a.
Undecideds don't break toward the 20-year incumbent.
I thought there was a segment of.
They generally don't.
I thought there was a segment of Republicans that were fired up for Trump, but the Republicans in general were not until the FBI investigation comes down. I think there's a difference in the state. When you go around the state to Republican areas, I think a lot of folks are going to show up, and maybe the Trump voters don't vote for Proposition whatever, but I think they do vote for U.S. Senate. I mean, they check one more box, right? And if they do, Roy Blunt's going back to the Senate, isn't
Well, but if they switch over for Coster, I think they may switch over for Candor. They may not switch over for the others, but
Interesting.
I think his military, I think his. I mean, this is, and we were talking a little bit about this off air, but you know, sometimes it's just the candidate is that good. Regardless, I mean, the campaign he's run has been really good, but sometimes it's the guy. And I think that has a lot to do with that. And when he's running against Dream, Chris Coster, again, it's the guy. He's running against, you know, this whole experience doesn't matter trend. And I think both of them, I think people see that.
Last race, biggest race in Missouri. Who wins governor's race by how much?
I think Coster wins by 2 points.
2 points.
Coster too.
Senator, what do you think?
Eric Greitens by 3.
3 points.
Greitens by 2.
2. I think Barklage and I a month ago thought Greitens by a half a point. I'd say it's right in there, and maybe the top of the ticket. And his last couple days may influence whether that's a 1 point Greitens win or a 3 point win or a 1 point Coster win. But he's definitely came on. I want to thank everybody for being on here. Thank everybody throughout the cycle for coming on. We look forward to talking about one of the best governor's races means one of the most interesting sessions, and we'll begin talking about that next week with current Governor Jay Nixon.